Hey guys, and welcome to Browney's Garage. In today's episode, we'll be covering how to remove and replace the diff bushes in your BA, BF, all the way up to FG Falcon, as well as SX and SY territories. This will be a more detailed video, as I haven't really found anything to show how to do this quite how I'm hoping to here. So this is a side job I completed as part of our performance mod series that I'm doing on my FGX Falcon. If you'd like to see more of our usual dumb humour or our more complete videos, then check out that series. I'll have a link to the playlist down below, as well as the full episode where we'll be showing how to remove the diff to get it to this stage we have it here, and also how to install the diff once you've replaced these bushes. The diff bushes we replace in this video are really common to fail in these model of cars and can be responsible for all sorts of noises and clunks coming from the rear end of your car, particularly when it's under load. I've used a Nolophane bush kit for this one. It runs you roughly around $200 for that kit and should hopefully last a little bit longer than the factory stuff. Again, I'll have a link to that in the description below if you'd like to check those out or where I've got those from. But this video, it will be much the same regardless of what bush kit you pick to use. Okay, let's get stuck into some work, and hopefully this helps you out if you're trying to tackle this job at home, just as I have here myself. We're going to start on the two front bushings first. Remove the 30mm bolts in each bush, which holds the diff center to the cradle. Before getting too far, we want to be sure to measure how deep the metal center of these factory bushes are, as some are slightly deeper and it can even vary side to side. Don't stress too much, absolute precision shouldn't be required here. But we do need to ensure that those ears or supports for the diff center do not touch the cradle when the new bushes are installed, and the depth of these bushes will help determine this. If the new ones are only pushed in flush, you may have noise and vibration issues from the diff center supports on the cradle, and this is an important point that seems to get missed a bit. We can then continue removing the factory bushes. Now, before anyone cracks a wobbly about how I've replaced these bushes, I've actually done this mostly using instructions as provided by Nolophane, which were great. Start by drilling a heap of large holes around the rubber section of the bush, ensuring not to damage the threaded bolt hole on the diff. With enough drilling, we can then cut or break the remaining rubber and remove the center eyelet. We're left with the outer metal shell of the bush. Using a reciprocating saw or a manual metal cutting blade, cut two grooves close to each other through this shell, trying not to cut into the cradle. A small nick or cut into this cradle, however, isn't major. They're a very solid unit in this section. We can then, using a hammer and a punch, bend the steel back in between these cuts to weaken and collapse it in. With the shell removed, give it a quick tidy up with some sandpaper and make sure there are no sharp edges. Then blow out any rubber or debris from here, as well as the bolt holes. Time to get the new bushes in. Use the provided grease to cover the clean eyelets there. The new bushes are marked for where they should be pointing up, as well as being tapered on the leading edge to help with installing. A good tip is to leave these bushes in the freezer at least overnight to help them shrink slightly and make this easier. My girlfriend wasn't wrapped with that. Line them up and knock into flush with a piece of wood. I've then used the old bush shells to help push these in further to our measurements we got earlier. Again, I wasn't terribly precise with this. As long as we get clearance later, you should be all good. Nearly set, time to lever the diff centre to line up the bolts. Use the provided washers on the bolts when reassembling. Check your clearance before talking to spec, and then doing a final check of clearance from the diff supports to the cradle. Done. Let's move on to that rear bush. This rear bush will be much the same. Be sure to support the diff center while doing this though, to not put any extra strain on those new front bushes we've just put in. Drill out the rubber and remove the center eyelet. Cut and collapse the outer shell. Then clean this outer eyelet and grease it up. The earlier BAs had this offset center bush. Later cars will have the bolt hole at the center, so make sure you order the correct bush kit to suit. On this, that offset will face upwards and then simply push in. Get the bolt well started, then thread it in and torque it up to spec again. Job done. Replacing those bushes really isn't that hard at all, and as you can hopefully see, it doesn't require any specialist tools or presses or anything like that some people sometimes say you need for this job. So maybe it's actually getting it to this stage or getting it back in the car that people dread. Well, we'll be finding out shortly, because that's our next video coming up in this series, and hopefully we'll get to test this out actually in the car as well. If you'd like to see that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and if this video has helped you out, drop us a like. It really helps out the channel as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Cheers.